Jen here. I'm back again today with another layout for the Wild Whisper design team. I'm using their More Adventures collection that they released in January, and here's a few more things that I pulled out. These are some Evilicious puffy stickers and Flair from the On the Way collection, and those wood veneer are also from On the Way. And I'm just starting by putting some Faber-Castell whipped spackle all over the layout. I sort of have an idea of what this layout is going to look like. I have a sketch that I'm using, and I'll stick a picture of that sketch in so you can see it as well. And it's just a sketch I found on Pinterest, and it's by Brenda Ragsdale, and I think it's a few years old when I went and actually tried to find a copy of it. But I just liked that it's a sketch that gets a ton of pattern paper onto the layout, and I actually gave it to my local scrapbooking group as a January sketch challenge. So I thought it would probably be a good idea if the challenger also took the challenge herself. So this is kind of a win-win in both ways. And I love the colors in this collection so much that I just want to try and get as many of them as possible into every layout. I'm really having a hard time trying to narrow them down and just pick a few colors. So this was a good way to get some nice big chunks of color onto the layout. So here you can see these are the patterns that I've chosen. I wanted to have that blue pattern because it kind of looks like snow, so I think that that fits my mountain pictures, but also it has a small pattern to it, so it reads as a solid, and I think I needed to have that to sort of keep the balance of the layout. So here's my little trick for trying to cut a triangle. You just find the center of your triangle and you swing the paper out from that center, and then that way you get your diagonal cuts. Now this one is going to be the largest piece of paper, the one that sits on top, and then the chevron is going to be that banner that you see running across the paper in behind. Or, yeah, I guess it's called a banner. So here is how my papers are sort of going to layer up, and then my photos are going to go across that way. And I really struggled with the placement of my photos. Oh, I just wanted to show you my sweet little buddy that I have sitting behind me as I'm scrapping. He just made himself at home right behind me, and every once in a while he would just pat my back a little bit to remind me that he was there and give me some moral support, because I really did struggle with this layout quite a bit. I don't know why. A sketch should have made it easy. I should have been able to just sort of follow that sketch and have everything go really simply, but it just wasn't coming together for me. So it was nice to have his moral support in behind there. But anyways, what I was trying to say was that I think part of my biggest problem with this layout, or what I was struggling with the most, was the pictures. And I was sort of stubborn. I wanted to have those pictures. I wanted to use those pictures. And I needed them to sort of go in the way that I have them, with that picture at the top, the one of us driving to the mountains, and you can see in the side view mirror sort of what's ahead and what's behind, and then actually at Lake Louise with the kids. But the problem was that the top picture is so heavy, the mirror makes it so dark and it has so much information in it, and then the other two pictures have so much white space to them. And not only that, because it was such a misty, foggy day, it was really sort of the air was really thick, and so the contrast between white and then those dark mountains really sort of throws off the balance of the picture as well. The mountains weren't actually that dark looking, but because the white balance was off on the camera, it makes everything look like they almost genuinely look like a black and white photo. So I was just really struggling with how I wanted those pictures to go, and I think that is what was throwing me off this whole time. But I stick with it because I am stubborn and because I really wanted to tell this story using this collection. So I'm just going to keep going. I've put my pictures to the side and I'm just going to work on the layout and kind of, get things pieced together. And so here you can see I have that banner going in behind. And I'm being stingy and I cut it up instead of running it all across because I want to keep as much of that pattern as possible. And so here I've got everything placed down. I should have made that cream colored piece of paper with the gray leaves. I should have made that a little bit bigger, but I think in the end it wouldn't have really mattered because I cover quite a bit of it up anyways. And so here I'm going to fuss around. I really want to use that card that was sort of the jumping off point for me picking these pictures. Because the mountains really are one of our favorite places to go, and we're really lucky that my daughter gets to go every year and participate in a dance competition in Lake Louise. And so we look forward to it every year, and we always have a lot of fun. And it's a totally different experience every year because it's usually in April, and the mountains in April can be freezing cold or they can be really warm. You never quite know what you're headed into. So we just love it, and so this card really fit nicely with that. So I'm going to fussy cut it because I felt like it was too blocky. And if you go back and look at the sketch doesn't actually have a lot of embellishment. So I'm going to cut this all out and I'm going to try to squeeze it in somewhere. And I fuss around quite a bit with where I want this to go, but you'll kind of see how I end up doing it. And in the end, after I filmed this and edited the whole thing and then took pictures, I wrote my blog, I almost sent my blog to Heather and Susie, and then I change it. So you'll see both the before and the after in the end pictures. And so let me know what you think. I'd really be interested in hearing your comments to see how you would change things up to make it work better for you. So I felt like it needed some more bold color. It needed a place where your eye could rest, because that was part of the problem, is that it was just so busy. There was nowhere for your eye to really kind of go around the page and take a rest. And it should be that center picture. Not because that's the most important picture, but just because that's the center of the page. And so I felt like that's where the eye needed to be drawn. So I'm going to use these branding strips. You saw I sort of had the idea and I ended up cutting a few strips. I don't know if you can hear that in the background. That is my bearded dragon, who is not liking that I'm not paying any attention to her. So she's kind of scratching at the glass and saying, "Hello, look at me." Anyways, so I cut a few strips of paper, some of the bolder patterns, because I wanted to do this. And then I realized that all 3 branding strips that I cut off of the papers I used actually had the colors I wanted in a more bold format. So I used those branding strips and I put them right across the page. I twisted the arrows and the chevrons so that they're all pointing into that center. And now I feel like when you're looking around the page, your eye naturally goes to that center. And then from there, you can decide if you want to go up or down to kind of take it all in. And now I'm pulling out those Evilicious flare and stickers and kind of trying to pull out ones that have the right colors. So they're not quite a perfect match, but they're enough of a match, and because the background is so busy, it kind of doesn't, like, your eye doesn't really notice that the colors aren't all perfect matches for each other. So they work. And they actually had a pink, sort of, teal, green, more of a mint, I guess, a navy, and a yellow. So that ended up being perfect. And then down here I'm going to put the little card that I fussy cut. I needed to fill in the gap where I had cut that back banner and then ended up changing my mind and pulling it out a little bit longer. So there was a bit of a gap there, so the mountains actually fill that gap perfectly. And then it's just kind of nestled in there. Doesn't really pop out too much, so it's not adding to the busyness. But when you're looking in that center, you still catch it, you still see it. And then I found my little A that fell off of that wood veneer, so now it says adventure here. And I love the way that that sits on those mountains. And then I use 2 little geotags that have hearts popped out of them from that same collection from Evilicious. And now I'm just going to keep following that diagonal feel and add some embellishment down at the bottom and up at the top in those corners, trying to get all of the colors put in. So you can see those are the sheets that I was pulling off of. And I'm just about there. I play around a little bit trying to find matching shapes for everything in every color. So yeah, that bottom I needed to move it. I needed to adjust it a little bit, I guess. It just wasn't fitting right. And part of the things that I did at the end, or part of what I did to sort of balance it or make it feel better for me, is that I actually pulled a ruler out and I measured it. So here you can see this is the original. There's my view of the mountains and my youngest, and that's Lake Louise behind him, and my other 2 pointing at a mountain. And there you go. I think that I'm done. So here's some close-ups of the original, and then at the end you will see some close-ups of the new version. So let me know if you think I improved upon it, or if there's something that you think I could have done to make it feel a little bit better. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Check out Wild Whisper Designs. I'll leave the links down below. And until next time, happy scrapping, everyone. Bye!